All right, we're going to do a real quick demo now about how to get files from your computer to an EC2 instance that you've just set up on AWS. So let's go ahead and get started on that. The very first thing that you need to do is download FileZilla. And FileZilla is what's called an FTP application. What you're going to want to do is download the client, not the server. The server is the application that if you were, say, for example, wanting to run a file server somewhere that others could connect to via FileZilla or other FTP clients, the server is what you'd want to use. But here we're going to use a protocol that's built on top of SSH called SFTP to connect to our server using protocols that are already in place that we don't even have to install any fancy software to use them. So this is what FileZilla looks like. And on the left here, you will see your computer. You know, it may not look exactly like you're used to looking at your computer, but on the left is resources that's on your computer. The C drive if you're on Windows, and all of the things that are stored on there. So what I'm going to do is I have already created a new project, and it's called Awesome Website, and it's in an Awesome Website directory inside of my code directory that I've set up. So all you need to do is navigate that little tree. Here's my Awesome Website code right there. All you need to do is navigate the tree, and I'm going to find my Awesome Website. And what I might need to do is hit this little refresh button up at the top, because I created the Awesome Website after I opened FileZilla for the first time. So I opened it, it pulled up this list of all the files that are there, and then I created the files, and so it needs to be told, FileZilla needs to be told that there's new things to look for. So I hit this little refresh button. Here's my Awesome Website right there, with my index and something else .html. So 2 files. Obviously, I could just create those files directly on the server itself using Nano or another program that's installed, another text editor there. But when you've got a couple files or a handful of files or 10 files or 20 files or 1,000 files or an entire Git repository full of files, it can be kind of painful to create those files on a server instead of using your local environment and copying them over. So SFTP is going to be the way to do that. Now let's go ahead and pull up the information on the server that we're going to be connecting to. So I set this up with Amazon Linux and a brand new key pair that I've downloaded to my computer, and I can connect to that instance with SSH. If I pull up the terminal and SSH, you can see I can use my new key pair to my EC2 instance with the IP address that's listed right here. And I can connect, and it's going to say, I don't know who you are, so let's do this. Here we are. Okay. So now I'm connected. I know that that key pair works to connect as EC2 user to that server. But if I ls, you'll see there are nothing but some basic files in that directory, in the home directory for EC2 user. So now let's fix that. Let's connect to FileZilla. And the way we're going to do that is using the site manager, because I only want to set this up once. I want to be able to connect to this site over and over and over again. So I'm going to make a new site. I'm going to call it IS404, because that's the project that I've got hosted on this website. On the left here is where I typed that. Now I'm going to go over and select SFTP from the protocol dropdown. FTP is the file transfer protocol. SFTP is the SSH file transfer protocol, meaning it is built right into the SSH protocol to be able to copy files back and forth. So we're just using that SSH connection to do some more stuff. And I'm going to paste the IP address in there. That IP address is the IP address of my server. I'm going to use port 22. And I'm not even totally sure if you have to specify that port, because 22 is the default port for SSH. And then we're going to choose key file for the logon type. The username is EC2 user, because that's the default username on Amazon Linux. And then I need to browse for that key file. And what you might see is that it's going to pop up, and there's a bunch of files in here. I've got it in my downloads directory. And down here it says it's looking for PPK files. PPK is a different format for private keys. I don't use that. I use PEM, so I'm going to select PEM files, and then you'll see that my beefcake.pem private key has shown up. So I can select that, and that's it. There we go. That's all the information that we need. So if I hit connect now, it's going to say, do I trust this computer? Yes, I trust this computer. And I'm going to say always trust it, just because there's no reason for me not to do that. If you know there's a reason for you not to do that, go ahead and not do that. But now you see that it's connected, and by default, it is connected to that home directory /home/EC2 user. And we can look and see the things that are there. Those same files that we saw in the terminal, the bash history, bash logout, bash profile, etc., are all right there along with that .ssh folder. The question marks just mean that I haven't navigated to that directory yet. So it says, I know there's a directory here. I don't know what's in it. If you click on it, it'll look at what's in that directory, and then the question mark will go away. But there's nothing wrong with having the question marks there. So now the next thing is, how do we get these files from my computer over here on the left to the server over here on the right? It's really hard. It's really, really tricky. I'm going to click, and I'm going to drag and wait for it to copy. And it's there. And now I can go ls over here, and you'll see that my awesome website is there. Notice I left off the -a, so it's not showing me all of those hidden files. And now if I ls the awesome website directory, it's going to show me the contents of that. And if I go into, let's just look at the file, and here we can see the contents. The exact same file that I had on my computer has now been copied over onto the server in the cloud. And that was super easy. You set up the server, you download the private key, or you already have a private key, so you just use that one. You set up the connection in FileZilla, and you drag and drop your stuff over. And the same works the other way. You can drag and drop things back the other way as well, and it works just as well. So that's how you copy files from a computer, anywhere, any kind of computer, to a server that is an EC2 instance, using those private keys to authenticate and just pass those things over SFTP. Piece of cake.